Vanessa. I wonder whether you would stand in a 40-minute queue or not. Let's talk to the retail expert, Kate Hardcastle, about all of this. Hello, Kate. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
So, car showrooms open now, outdoor markets open now, IKEA open now, garden centres open now. The queues at IKEA, absolutely phenomenal. One of the papers says at least one of them was a mile long. I don't know if it's true, but what we know is people sat and stood in that queue for an awfully long time. Does that mean we are just missing our retail habit? And is that promising for the retail sector?
Well, I found it very interesting, Vanessa. I spent the day in the markets trying to understand what the picture was for some of the independent businesses that were running as well. And it was definitely a story of two halves, because IKEA, we've seen these aerial shots of very long queues taking over the whole car park. And we've heard reports of people queuing up to 4 hours to get their fix. People have been interviewed in those queues and talked very much about the fact that they were just missing the idea of being out, being amongst people. And someone actually admitted to the fact they just wanted to break up the day. They didn't want to do another daily walk. But it was a different story in some of the markets, I can tell you. It's quite quiet, actually. And I think it's a very different picture for people that are wanting to get back out there, socialise, see what it's all about. And a lot of people who are still very wary and wanting to keep safe. And I think that will happen for some time. And we don't have to shop these days because we know we've got online.
And what about, of course, all the stores that haven't yet opened and the sorts of shops that haven't yet opened? Most particularly, I think lots of people are thinking clothes shops, book shops, toy shops, and all the other shops that we need and want and usually, use on a kind of regular basis without giving it a second's thought. Are there any more, A, indications about when other shops will open, and B, indications about how they're going to do what they do safely?
So just like June the 1st was a momentous day, June the 15th is going to be a very big day too. That's when we're told non-essential stores can reopen. It's going to be significant for the fashion industry that overall has seen real challenges to their profits. Sales have been up to 70-80% down. People just not buying those non-essential items and very aware of the challenging economic times ahead. I think we will see this snapback. I think we'll see more queues when June the 15th arrives, and we'll see queues out the doors of some of those popular stores. But I think what we've got to be is realistic. This isn't something that will carry on forever. People won't want to enjoy that experience when it's not essential that they're in those queues. And I think the fair weather yesterday certainly helped a lot. We've got to imagine our traditional British weather, the rain clouds, and seeing how people might react when it's a very different story and you can't sun yourself in a car park.
Yes. And are many businesses feeling tremendous trepidation? I mean, one of the things we've seen is that Primark, which apparently has £2 billion worth of unsold stock at the moment, obviously because nobody's been able to buy any of it, says it's not going to be mounting a sale. It's not going to be a kind of rummage sale where you get everything for 10p. They're not doing that. They're going to sell the stuff in due course over a period of time at the full price. Now, that's quite a courageous decision, isn't it, on their behalf, on their part?
Well, they've got the confidence that they're going to be able to sell that stock. And I think that's the difference perhaps between them and someone like Marks and Spencer's, who've basically said, we've got a lot of stock, we're just going to try and sell it in spring next year, which is a little bit more worrying for a fashion house to be able to put that positioning forwards. But we've got to be realistic. These businesses have got to sell a huge amount of products that they've bought in. There's been very little appetite for that, even online, because people have been concentrating on the essentials, getting the food in for the families, perhaps buying barbecues instead and enjoying this good weather that we've had. But I think the realism is retail has challenged. It is a massive part of our high streets. We don't want it to fail. The good will survive. And I think it's that balance of making sure that the stores feel that they're safe for the staff and the consumers that come in, and they've got something that's interesting and engaging in there. Any messaging about don't worry, we've just got old stock to sell you isn't going to pull you through. So it's finding the right balance of no big sales messages that are going to see people queuing out the doors and looking like they're acting irresponsibly, but that balance of we've got something fresh, interesting, and you'll be safe, and there's some reason to come out and see us. Because I think the challenge is going to be not straight away, Vanessa, but obviously a few months into it when actually the novelties die down and we're left with the realism of what the economic effect's going to be.
Exactly, absolutely. The other thing that I suppose might invigorate sales would be if A, we were told you can go away in this country, so you can, so therefore you've got to buy a pair of shorts and you've got to buy a pair of trunks and you've got a swimming costume and some flip-flops and all that because you will be going away, to a cottage on the Dales, or you'll be staying staying at an Airbnb somewhere in the UK, if they said that and gave us a date, people might think about that kind of purposeful shopping with intent, knowing you need stuff for your holes. And if they said, yes, this air bridge thing is going to happen, and yes, you can fly into this country and that country, and we're maybe not going to have the quarantine that we've been threatening to have here, so people will be flying in here, then people might be thinking, oh yes, I need to gear up and get stuff for my holidays. But because that isn't forthcoming at all, and instead today we have this thing about, you can't stay overnight with a lover, even if it's your own husband or wife, that you just didn't have to happen to be in lockdown with, and you cannot be intimate with anyone in an indoor space and all this kind of a thing. It makes holidays and buying for holidays seem very far away, doesn't it?
It does, and you're so right to work on the fact that there has to be a driver when we're cautious about making spend. So be it the pubs and the clubs reopening, which will have a huge impact in terms of our spend, or it will be the holidays and the fact that we can get out there. If there's purpose to buy, then it actually creates that demand some more. And that's a double win, really, because there'll be two economies that benefit from that. Obviously, the reopening of the holiday travel industry that's been hugely hurt, ditto bars and restaurants, and the fashion and non-essentials industry. The main thing is we've got to drive reassurance, we've got to drive emotional spend, and we've got to drive the impact for the consumers in a way that everyone feels also safe to shop.
Do you feel worried that one of the things people will have learned about themselves, particularly in lockdown, is A, the amount of money they save when they don't do things like go to the pub, go out for dinner, have takeaways, all the sorts of things that people spend money on, buy clothes, have their hair done, have their nails done, and all the other things that we perpetually spend money on, and then we find we have no money at all. Quite a lot of people are worried sick about money and have none at all. Others have got more than they usually have because they're just not spending it in the way they usually did. Are you worried, are you concerned that people will just think, well, I've actually done perfectly well without going out for dinner. I've done perfectly well without going and having my nails done. I'm absolutely fine without the X number of clothes I would normally have bought at this point. And that people will really rein themselves in, quite liking to have a bit of money or knowing they haven't got any and being very worried about the future.
It's such an important point, and there's a balance because our economy is fueled by us spending. So anyone sat listening to that point and rolling their eyes thinking, well, we shouldn't be spending money, we need to spend money. That's what keeps our economy alive.
Yes.
But also, if we've got people who don't feel as bound to get into heavy debt to try and have the latest thing that somebody else has had, and they learn to save more and learn to economise more, that's also a really good benefit out of it. Does it mean that some retail isn't going to survive? Some bars and restaurants? Probably, unfortunately so. The ones that survive will be better. They'll have better value for money. They'll be the ones that really drive the customers there. And what we've got to hope is that tipping point is enough for our economy. That's what I want to see, balance in there, that consumers don't feel bound by debt and businesses work hard to bring the consumers through the door. That's the point we want to get to.
Thank you very much, Kate. Nice talking to you. That's Kate Hardcastle, the retail expert.